I keep on seeing this book for sale as a t-shirt, and I am so tempted to buy it. For those of you that don't know, it's a Choose Your Own Adventure by Rose Estes, and it's a brilliant, brilliant book. And so I was going to read some of it to you because it's awesome like that. The Mountain of Mirrors. Now, the cover art is by Larry Elmore. He's an iconic fantasy author. Mountain of Mirrors is a Dungeons & Dragons Endless Quest adventure book. Between the covers of this book, you will find many paths to a fantasy adventure. There are many possible choices in this book. Some simple, some sensible, some foolhardy, some dangerous. All the choices are up to you. You can read this book many times with many different results. Remember, you choose your adventure. You are the adventurer. If you make an unwise choice, go back to the beginning and start again. There are no right or wrong choices, only many different choices to pick from. We hope you read and enjoy them all. Good luck adventuring. Ha ha ha. In the Mountain of Mirrors, you are an elf named Landon. Ooh, I'm an elf with pointy ears. You are 5 feet 5. Well, I'm kind of a short elf. I don't know how that's going to do with the girls. Although slender, you are very strong and quick on your feet. You are about 270 years old. Pretty old. Since elves live to be about 1,200 years, you are still in your early teens, according to human years. Yay, I'm a teenager! Your hair is a dark chestnut brown and hangs straight to your shoulders. Your eyes are emerald green. Like all elves, you have elven sight, allowing you to see objects in the dark by the heat they give off. You speak a number of languages, including those of orcs, goblins, ogres, and halflings, as well as the common language of humans. Although you are young and untried as a warrior, you have trained long and hard and are skillful with both a sword and a dagger. I'm a teenage ninja, and I look cool, but I'm short. I have to find a way to overcome these obstacles. Your adventure begins in the cold, clear dawn of a late autumn morning in your village of Aralia. Maric, the chief elder of the village, has asked his people to gather in the great hall for an important meeting. Well, you know, these corporate meetings that no one wants to go to, I guess they had these in the Dungeons & Dragons days too. Speaking in a low but commanding voice, Maric addresses his people. For 3 months now, no caravans have reached our village. Supplies are running very low. Someone or something has completely cut off Aralia from the land beyond the mountains. We have sent parties of elven warriors to discover what is wrong, but none have returned. Soon the great snows will come, and our village will perish without supplies. If we are to survive, someone must open the way to the land beyond the mountains, so caravans can get through. And me, Landon, I'm like, me, I can do this. On to page 4. The Councils of Elders has met all night in secret session and decided to choose by lot one elf from the village to try to open the way to the land beyond the mountains. The council feels one elf may succeed where many have not. The name drawn in the lottery is that of Landon. Though yet untried as a warrior, the elders feel that Landon's goodness of heart and strength of purpose are more valuable than fighting experience. Landon, step forward. A surge of excitement, isn't me? I was chosen for this mission, but it's a dangerous mission. Is this a good idea? We'll find out. Ignoring the grumbling from the elder warriors, you step forward and proudly say, Maric, I accept this mission. Please know that I will do my very best. Maric continues, Landon, for your mission, the council will supply you with a mountain mule and a portion of our dwindling supplies. We are also entrusting you with our greatest treasure, the fabled Sword of Magnus. The sword has many special qualities, cannot be broken no matter how hard it is struck. At your command, it will throw a clear golden light over a 10-foot area. The sword of Magnus will hum in the presence of enemies. If you are defeated or slain, the sword will lose its powers. It cannot be used by anyone who is not pure of heart. Prepare yourself, Landon. You leave within the hour. The hour speeds by quickly as you change from your everyday clothes into a gray suede shirt, pants, and a gray hooded cloak lined with silver fur. I am so petite and dainty with my magic sword Magnus. You put a tiny bone-handled knife into the secret pocket inside your shirt. It's always important, as a general rule, to have a pocket knife in case of emergencies, especially if it's in a secret pocket. You lace your tall black leather boots to your knees and begin filling your backpack with supplies. You load it with an axe, a rope, oil flask, some herbal medicine, a drinking horn, a tinderbox, and torches. Strapping a silver dagger to your belt and slinging a bow and a quiver of arrows over your shoulders, you prepare to leave. Following a narrow, rocky trail, you leave your beloved village behind, sped on your way by the blessings of family and friends. Eventually, Aurelia becomes lost in the distance. As you climb out your valley home, rocky peaks tower above you. Snow covers most of the peaks, but a few crowns of gray ancient rock. One peak stands out above the rest. From time out of your mind, your people have called it Shanafria, the Mountain of Mirrors. Whenever something's named after the title of the book, it's important. Hint! I gotta find a place now. Snow covers Shanafria on all sides, and its upper third is shrouded in a sheet of ice. When the sun shines, the mountain sparkles like a cold and perfect diamond. Ooh! As you approach Shanafria, dark clouds blot out the sun, and a chill of piercing wind rises. The path climbs steeply into the roof of the clouds. Several times your mule pulls back on its reins, reluctant to move forward. Silly mule, move! You sigh in sympathy. If there were another trail, you would surely take it. Mule, you finally say. Sometimes there's no choice, and you have to do things you don't like. Stop fussing and move! Tucking your head down against the wind, you continue trudging up the mountainside, pulling the stubborn mule behind you. The afternoon passes quickly, and soon the day grows gray with the coming of the night. The idea of spending the night alone in the mountains frightens you, but you have no other choice. Just ahead, you spot a sheltered hollow off the trail. If you hurry, you can still make camp while there's still some light. You reach the hollow just before sunset. You set up your camp and feed the mule. Then you set about cooking your own dinner. After eating, you snuggle down to your warmest furs and prepare to sleep. You are so tired that your eyes almost close instantly. A faint cry reaches your ears. It's adventure time. This is it. This is the moment we've been waiting for. I got my sword Magnus and my cool gray clothes and my bluish green eyes. I just look so awesome. And I'm ready for an adventure. Wide awake, you listen, but hear nothing more. You decide it must have been the cry of the night bird. Settling down, you try to get some sleep. Again, the cry echoes through the valley, louder now. Alert, you sit up and wait for the next cry. You are sure now that it was definitely something you heard. The voice of someone in trouble. Oh no! The cry seems to be coming from the trail. Drawing your sword and slinging your bow and arrows over your shoulder, you creep quietly down the trail. You see nothing in the direction which you came. Help! Help! The sharp but still distant cry comes from behind you. Whirling around, you see 3 elves sprinting full speed down the trail, pursued by 4 ogres. The ogres are 9 feet tall, with greenish-brown skin, snaggly yellow teeth, and sharp black claws. Each carries a pair of spears. Seeing the elves in danger, you start to wade through the heavy snow toward the battle. Close to the edge of exhaustion, the elves stumble more than they run. As you watch, one elf slips on an icy patch and falls to the ground. His weapons clatter away. His companions stop, uncertain, tug his arm and urge him to rise. But he does not move. The elves glance back at the ogres who are gaining on them. Finally, they race on, leaving their fallen friend behind. Goodbye, Bill. One of the ogres picks up the fallen elf by one foot. Struggling weakly, the elf dangles upside down. He pulls out his short sword and strikes desperately at the monster. The ogre only laughs and tosses the elf over the cliffs that borders the trail. The elf disappears, falling hundreds of feet to the valley floor below. Still wading through the snow, you glimpse the remaining 3 elves struggle between themselves. The larger elf is weaponless and holds the other by both arms. With a sudden wrench, the smaller elf pulls away and rushes back towards the ogres. The ogres stand at the edge of the cliff laughing about the elf's death. They are surprised and unprepared for the attack. Swords swinging, the elf is upon them before they realize it. He strikes first at the ogre who killed his friend, breaking his sword off at the hilt. Ching, ching, no! The dying ogre tries to speak, but crumbles to the ground with a broken blade lodged in his body. The elf draws his dagger and flings himself at another ogre. This is like the Legolas of elves. He stabs 3 times before his new foe can draw its own sword and attack. The other ogres crowd forward to join the fight, but there's only room on the narrow trail for one of them. The elf stays out of range of the wounded ogre's sword and is unable to move close enough to strike the fatal blow. Suddenly, out of nowhere, something flies through the air and strikes the ogre on the head. The weaponless elf has thrown a snowball to distract the ogre. He continues to bombard the enemy. The surprised ogre throws its arms up to protect itself. While snowballs cannot harm the ogre, they do confuse it. The first elf seizes his opportunity, leaps forward, and plunges his dagger into the ogre's stomach. Before his body hits the ground, the elf turns and races down the trail. Screams of rage echo through the valley as the 2 remaining ogres rush after the elf. The first ogre grabs the spear and, taking careful aim, lets the spear fly through the air with deadly action. The spear strikes the elf, sending him sprawling to the icy trail. He struggles to rise, but cannot. With a cry of rage, the weaponless elf charges the enemy. The ogre throws its second spear as it runs. The injured elf raises his head warily and sees the spear flying towards his companion. With a valiant surge of strength, he flings himself between them. Both elves fall heavily to the trail. The weaponless elf struggles to his knees unarmed, but the other elf lies crumpled in the snow, with 2 spears lodged in his body. Almost! Almost! Sobs the weaponless elf. The ogre roars with laughter at his cries. At the sound of their laughter, the grieving elf leaps to his feet and rushes towards them. So you want some of the same, little guy? Keep coming, Elfie. The spear's waiting for you, growls one of the ogres, waving the spear. The ogre's words instantly stop the elf. He stands hesitantly on the trail with no weapons to defend himself. What's the matter, chicken? I'll come to you, roars the ogre. Quick, elf, this way, you yell. You are still too far away to help, but are getting closer each second. If you can just reach him, his chances of escape are better. It looks like this is a long introduction. I still don't have a choice. I have no choices yet. It's a cool story, though, isn't it? The elf hears your words and sprints down the trail towards you. Both ogres shriek in anger when they spot you. Ah! Quickly, you ready your bow and draw an arrow from your quiver. The elf narrows the gap between you, and the ogres are almost within range of your bow. At this distance, a bow and arrow is a better weapon than a sword. If you can keep the ogres at a distance, both you and the elf yet may survive this encounter. Heart pounding, you force yourself to wait until the ogres are within range. Carefully, you draw back the bowstring and let the arrows fly. They leap from your bow in a deadly arc, whizzing through the frigid air towards the ogre. The first arrow slams into an ogre. It stumbles and continues to lurch forward. Then the remaining arrows thud into its body. The ogre stops, takes a faltering step, staggers, and falls. The last ogre kneels by the bloody form of its companion, grabs a fallen spear, and rises. Before you can get off another volley of arrows, the ogre draws back with the spear and throws it with tremendous force. With one final growl, it turns and races back up the trail. You hear a low moan of pain. The spear has found its mark. The elf has been hit. Hurrying up the trail, you kneel at the side of the wounded elf and examine him. The spear has passed through his chest, just below his right shoulder. With a shock, you recognize him as Halleck, an elven warrior from your village, who left with the last party that tried to cross the mountains. Halleck tries to speak, but no word comes. He collapses on the snow. Frantically, you tear aside his clothing and listen to his chest. Dimly, you hear a ragged heartbeat. He still lives. Working fast, you cut his shirt away from the wound and gently remove the spear, binding the awful wound with pieces of his shirt. You carry the elf to your camp. Gathering what little wood you can find, you build a fire and wrap him in blankets. Then you settle down to keep watch over Halleck through the long night. Around him, Halleck stirs and mumbles. I killed him. You certainly did. I never saw such a good shot with a snowball, you reply. No, I don't mean the ogre. I mean Ulmus. He was my brother. I killed him. If he hadn't tried to save me, he'd be alive now. Tears trickle from the corner of Halleck's eyes. He made the choice, you say in a tear-cracked voice. You must not dwell on his death. Ulmus would not want you to grieve so. Halleck turns his head, closes his eyes, and is silent. Tears continue to trickle down his cheeks. You reach for the horn of herbal medicine, simmering at the edge of the fire. Turning back to Halleck, you see that he has lapsed into unconsciousness. All day the elf wanders in and out of consciousness, delirious and feverish. You bathe him with icy stream water, but the fever does not break. You keep trying to get Halleck to drink some of the healing brew, but his restlessness only allows a little of the liquid to drop down his throat. The wound, the fever, and the grief over his brother's death are more than he can bear. At nightfall, Halleck awakens, his gray eyes large and clear. His fever has faded. You reach for the medicine. No, Halleck says in a faint voice. There is no need. The pain has left me, and I soon shall be with my brother. I can ask no more. He fumbles for your hand. You take it and feel his pulse fluttering like a trapped bird. Please tell the elders we tried, but there were just too many of them for us. Too many of what? Orcs, goblins, ogres, and even a frost giant, whispers Halleck. I always knew there was something evil about Shanafria. Evil? What evil? Please tell me what to expect. In a dying voice, Halleck gasps. Ice caves, mines, monsters, prisoners, death. His pulse flickers for a brief moment and then is still. He stares at you with empty eyes, a small smile on his lips. With a deep sigh of sadness, you prepare to bury Halleck. Throughout the long night, you gather rocks. Slowly, you build a tomb. At daybreak, you lay the last rock with bruised and aching hands. Halleck is now at peace. You must go on. Dun, dun, dun! That was like the first 15 pages of The Mountain of Mirrors. A brilliant book. I don't know if you guys have read it. It does actually give you choices. This is just kind of setting the table for the story to come. Pretty amazing stuff. I always think about it at Christmas because of the Frost Giant and the Frost Dragon. When I was a little kid, blew my mind. It just blew it to pieces. Very much like Norse mythology and just really, really cool Lords of the Ringsy stuff. Again, Rose Estes, The Mountain of Mirrors, It's a Endless Quest book by TSR, Dungeons and Dragons. Brilliant. Highly recommended. And the t-shirt. Oh, I must buy the precious. I must buy the precious. Because I love the book. I think I've read this book probably, like, not joking, 100 times. Yeah, because I'm nerdy that way. All right.